Part 39. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 381. Jaina gritted her teeth. She regretted now that she didn't listen to Li Qing's advice and deal with Santino as soon as possible. She herself is still soft-hearted. Now the adjudicator has stated in front of her that he wants to protect Santino's safety, which has already explained a lot of problems. Dear sister, do you really want to know what I said? Do not doubt that I have reported all the things you have done against the high table over the years. For example, secretly eating the property of members of the Ndrangheta who are members of the high table, hiding the killers of the high table members, etc. Gianna looked at Santino coldly. You really think I don't dare to kill you? You can live until now, you have to thank our mother. If I hadn't made a promise to my mother, you would have been dead a long time ago 100 times. Cashin quietly took a few steps forward, waiting for Jaina's orders at any time. Santino looked at Cashin with some fear. He was also uneasy in his heart. No one could guarantee whether Gianna would take action. Cashin. Jaina closed her eyes. This time it was the Inquisitor who forced her. Not only did she want to kill Santino, but she also wanted to kill the Inquisitor. Before the adjudicator reports it. Jaina suddenly heard footsteps behind her. It turned out that the personnel sent by the Inquisitor to protect Santino were standing outside. Jaina stood up, walked to Santino, and stared into his eyes. Santino, do you really think the Inquisitor can protect you? We'll see. Now that the opportunity to take action was missed, Jaina had no choice but to lead Cashin out of the apartment. After Gianna left, Santino had an uncertain look on his face. He knew that Gianna would not give up, and he was also a little worried. Gianna had a gloomy face and got into the car without saying a word. It seemed like she had to seriously join Li Qing's plan this time. In fact, the promise made to Li Qing in the villa just now was only a verbal promise. As for future cooperation, it still depends on the specific distribution of benefits. The current changes forced her to have an in-depth cooperation with Li Qing. Now she is even more eager to kill the Inquisitor than Bowery. Cashin, start mobilizing those people from now on. I want the Inquisitor's every move to not escape my eyes. Jaina suddenly opened her eyes and said in a deep voice. Cashin nodded. He knew what Jaina meant. Over the years, Jaina had secretly raised a group of killer troops, and it seemed that she was ready to use that group of people. The night is like ink, just like the turbulent situation in Gotham City. No one expected that the arrival of the Inquisitor would make the entire Gotham situation become confusing. In recent days, Gotham City has been very peaceful, and ordinary people are living their lives as usual without any disturbance. But for Winston, the former head of the Continental Hotel, it was extremely painful because the 7-day period had arrived. He knew that when night fell, the enemy would attack. Winston sat quietly on the sofa in the hall, watching the night slowly fall. Suddenly all the lights in the Continental Hotel were turned off, and everything fell into darkness. They're coming. John Wick next to him said solemnly. Winston nodded, stood up and walked into the elevator. The moment he entered the elevator, a tear gas canister was thrown in, and the hotel lobby was suddenly filled with smoke. John Wick slowly put on the gas mask, and through the moonlight outside the window, he could still see the dark shadows outside the door. Ready for action. AO reminded on the intercom. The mobile teams put on night vision goggles and observed the killers who continued to pour into the Continental Hotel. Different from what they imagined, the killers this time looked like special forces. They were wearing black uniforms and all carrying standard equipment. They were even covered in bulletproof equipment. Bang Bang John Wick, hiding behind the statue, took the lead in attacking. 2 consecutive shots were fired at the killer's chest, but to his disappointment the bullets did not penetrate the bulletproof steel plate, and the killer only took a few steps back due to the impact of the bullets. John didn't hesitate and shot one of the killers in the head, causing the killer's head to tilt up. Unfortunately, the bullet still did not penetrate the mask. "Damn it!" John muttered quietly. These equipment were obviously still in the experimental stage and had not been provided to the killers. Unexpectedly, they had already equipped them. AO and others at the sniper point also saw the scene through night vision goggles, raised their guns and started aiming at the killer's head. Bang! The dull and powerful sound of sniper rifles echoed in the hotel. Finally, this time the bulletproof equipment did not block the 12.7 mm caliber sniper bullet. The bullet tore the mask instantly and exploded directly into the killer's head. From a distance, it looked like the head had been cut off in half. The killer, whose head was blown off, spun half a circle and fell straight to the ground. "Conceal, conceal, sniper." The well-trained killers found bunkers where they could hide, causing AO and others to lose their target. But there is nothing we can do in the new world. The heavy machine gun set up on the second floor will become a nightmare for the killers. "Hey, John, go away!" Crow shouted to John downstairs. John Wick glanced at the two heavy machine guns on the second floor, his expression changed slightly, and he quickly moved inside. "Kaka!" The barrel of the heavy machine gun slowly rotated. Now the killers downstairs don't have to worry about hurting their own people. After all, there are still a few killers inside the Continental Hotel. "Open fire!" Crow laughed ferociously and pulled the trigger directly, bullets pouring out like a shower. The statue downstairs was splattered with rocks, but the rocks seemed unable to withstand heavy machine gun fire. The killer hiding behind the statue can feel the vibration of the bullet hitting the statue. "Damn it! Heavy machine gun." An English sentence mixed with a Japanese accent came out of the killer's mouth. They Ping John killers never expected that they would encounter heavy machine guns in the hotel. This was more or less beyond their knowledge. At this time, Winston also heard the sound of heavy machine guns in the bar downstairs, and sighed helplessly. It's a pity that those statues were carved by famous artists. "Mr. Winston, do you think we can win?" Eddie placed a cocktail in front of Winston. "Abel," Winston said categorically, because he had already tasted the fear of being dominated by the new world. At this time, the killers upstairs also felt the same fear. They didn't know how many bullets the other party had. Killers have now been killed by heavy machine guns, and large caliber bullets even penetrate bulletproof equipment without resistance. Countless bullet casings had also accumulated under the heavy machine gun. Crow took advantage of the gap between changing magazines to rub his really numb arms. The recoil is so powerful." The killers downstairs also realized that bullets were being changed upstairs, and the leading killer shouted, "Quickly deal with the heavy firepower upstairs." Click, click, click. The sound of rifle fire sounded from downstairs. A few bullets hit the baffle of the heavy machine gun, making a crisp sound and almost biting the crow. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Bulletin Liang. Chapter 382. AO and the others saw the killers show up, and they didn't tolerate the other side, and started to call out names directly. Bang! Bang! The sound of the sniper rifle even exceeded the sound of the rifle, and the killers found that they had no power to fight back at all. The killer who led the team gritted his teeth. He knew that the offensive mission had failed. The opponent's thorough preparations made them unable to exert their due strength. He looked at the heavy machine gun on the second floor opposite helplessly, and calculated the time. The magazine was almost ready. They couldn't stand a round of heavy machine gun fire, and the statue used as a cover had been thinned by bullets. If they didn't retreat, all of them would have to die here today. Retreat, retreat quickly. The killers began to retreat in a well-trained manner after hearing the sound, and the mobile team began to call out heads one by one. As soon as the voice fell, the heavy machine gun on the second floor began to spit out flames again. Ah! Damn! The screams mixed with Japanese sounded downstairs, and several killers were torn apart by bullets. Only a dozen Ping-Jong assassins fled the Continental Hotel in a panic. John looked at the corpses on the ground and some killers who were wailing in the moonlight, and smacked his lips. Compared with team combat, assassination is like a child playing house. Sure enough, fire coverage is the best way to kill. What are you looking at? Crow came down from upstairs and looked at John Wick. The magazine in my pistol hasn't been used up yet, and the battle is over. John looked at the gun in his hand with self-mockery, which made him, as a night demon, feel a little disappointed. At this time, the damaged lines of the hotel were also reconnected, and the lights in the hotel lobby were lit again. The hotel lobby was full of corpses, most of which were torn into limbs by heavy machine guns. There were also several Ping-Jong killers lying on the ground, breathing out more than breathing in, moaning softly. Here, your chance to use up all the bullets is here. Crow smiled and pointed at several groaning killers. John looked at Crow speechlessly, waved his hand and walked into the elevator. Crow shrugged and followed him in. Then the brothers from the New World shot the surviving killers. There was no need to worry about the bodies, because the second floor of the hotel was a crematorium. In the underground bar, Winston heard the gunshots stop and realized that the battle upstairs was over. Ding, the elevator door rang, and John and Crow walked out side by side. How is it? All solved. Winston looked at the two and asked with a smile. John nodded, sighed, and sat opposite Winston. Crow greeted Winston and went straight to flirt with Eddie. The judge will not give up. John Wick looked up at Winston. In his opinion, the judge's actions this time were just tentative, and there would be a larger-scale attack next. I know, I have expected this kind of thing. Your boss is also very clear. Winston took off his frameless glasses and said in a deep voice. If the adjudicator really gave up so easily, then there would be no need for the high table to exist. But this hotel is everything to me, and I will definitely protect it. Winston said firmly. I believe in you, and I will help you. John Wick said with a firm expression. In his years as a killer, Winston has helped him a lot, and even risked being punished by the high table to exonerate him. This is what he owes Winston. I'm sorry, Mr. Adjudicator, the Continental Hotel was not taken down. Zero knelt on the ground and apologized to the adjudicator. He didn't expect that the opponent was well prepared, especially the intervention of the New World caused them heavy losses. The adjudicator looked at Zero coldly. The New World actually intervened in the Continental Hotel incident. What do they want to do? Then the adjudicator took a deep breath, stood up and looked at the street lights outside, and she remembered the humiliation of the past few days. It seems that there is no way to deal with John Wick with just the ability of your Ping-Jong killers. Zero suddenly raised his head. Your Excellency the Judge, we are killers, not the army. Please believe in our ability, let us deal with John Wick. When he is alone, that is when he will die. Zero lowered his head and asked. The judge thought about it, nodded, and agreed with Zero's approach. But in her heart, she was thinking about continuing to recruit gangs. The strength of the New World in Gotham exceeded her imagination. She suddenly found that Gotham City was not so peaceful. Why didn't other gangs react when the New World made such a big move? It was as if everyone was waiting for something. Alex. A name came out of the judge's mouth. Now Gotham City is dominated by the American Mafia. As members of the High Table, the American Mafia should also contribute to the High Table. The judge pulled the corner of his mouth. Let the killer solve the killer's problems, and let the gang solve the gang's problems. Ignoring Zero who was kneeling on the ground, the judge strode towards the door. After the judge left, Zero also stood up. John Wick, in this case, let's use the killer's rules to deal with each other. Zero smiled sinisterly, and now he only had one goal in mind, which was to kill John Wick. Li Qing in the villa also received the news that the assassins had retreated. Everything went according to his plan, and he knew that the adjudicator would not give up. The next time she would target not only the Continental Hotel, but the entire New World. Alex, if I'm not mistaken, the adjudicator will ask you to come out. Li Qing looked at Alex opposite with a smile. It turned out that as early as when the assassins attacked the Continental Hotel, Li Qing invited Alex to the villa to watch this good show. Alex was also surprised by Li Qing's plan, but he was very interested in the upcoming New World Hotel. Alex was about to say something, but the phone in his pocket did vibrate. Alex looked at the caller ID on his phone, smiled and raised his phone. It seems, our adjudicator is anxious. He pressed the hands-free button directly. Hello, respected adjudicator. Alex's tone was a little playful. Alex, I now recruit the Gotham City Mafia in the name of the High Table to help me destroy the New World. The judge ignored the teasing in Alex's tone and continued to speak coldly. Alex smiled and looked at Li Qing. Oh, Your Excellency the judge, the New World you know has always been my partner. Well, it's yours, not the High Table. The judge's words made Alex feel depressed. In front of Li Qing, he felt very embarrassed. Alex gritted his teeth and said, agree to the call. After hanging up the phone, Li Qing looked at Alex and chuckled, it seems that we have to discuss how to play a fake match. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 383. Zero kept looking at the Continental Hotel not far away. The lights in the Continental Hotel were brightly lit, as if they were exactly the same as before the trial. But Zero knew that it was full of murderous intent, and nearly half of the Ping Zhang killers in Gotham City died here. Come on, let's see if the Night Stalker lives up to his name. Zero lowered his head and said to the two apprentices. Since assassination no longer works, use killer duel to solve the problem. The two twin killers grinned and revealed the claw knives hidden in their sleeves. They have also been famous for John Wick for a long time. Ding bell, the wind chime hanging at the door of the Continental Hotel rang. John, who was chatting with Winston, looked up at the door and saw the person's eyes froze slightly. Zero's bald head is still very recognizable in the killer's circle, but the most eye-catching thing about him is the knife in his hand and his two twin apprentices. John Wick. Zero looked at the tall John standing in front of the bar and smiled. Winston tilted his head and glanced at Zero, then looked at John. Well, there are really some people who are not afraid of death. Zero. Crow became interested as soon as he saw it, and pushed the things on the table in the hall. Come on, place your bet, place your bet. I'll bet first. I'll bet that the opponent can last for 5 minutes, 1,000. Brother New World also smiled and stepped forward and started placing bets. Anyway, Brother Crow has always been known as the wealth-spreading boy, so it was just the opposite of him. Winston also stepped forward with interest. Aren't you worried that John will lose? This sentence immediately aroused the contempt of all the New World boys. Whether John wins or not, they can't leave the hotel. Crow smiled sadly. Winston was suddenly speechless, and his understanding of the New World's behavior became more profound. Come on, John Wick, get them out of the way and we'll deal with them killer style. Zero stared at John seriously. In his heart, as long as he can defeat John Wick, he is willing to die in the end. The two dwarf twins took a step forward, with claw knives hooked on their index fingers, looking eager to try. I suddenly feel itchy. Can you let me play with it first? Gao Jin walked out from beside the crow and whispered. Crow looked at Gao Jin strangely. He knew Gao Jin's character and would never be so proactive. Gao Jin felt a little embarrassed when he was looked at by the crow. Ahem, I'll hold on to myself for 5 minutes, 2000. He didn't have much money at this time, so he also wanted to gather some crow's wool. Crow looked at Gao Jin with a dark look, but in front of so many younger brothers, he was too embarrassed to say anything. Gao Jin deliberately avoided the crow's gaze and walked towards the two dwarfs. Brother Crow, Brother Jin, I'll bet 1,000 here too. Brother Crow, I'll stake 2,000. Mosquito legs are also meat. I'll bet 1,000 on them. The sound of the New World boy placing bets could also be heard behind him. Gao Jin took off his suit jacket and walked to John. John, do you mind if I play? John Wick has long known that Gao Jin is very skilled, but he has never seen it before. This time Gao Jin actually took the initiative to ask for help. He also wanted to see if the top combat power next to the boss was as good as the crow that was shouting not far away. Gao Jin smiled and waved to the two little devils. Come on, little devils, let's play. In fact, Gao Jin's itchy hands this time were mainly due to the encounter with the little devil. After all, people from other countries cannot understand the hatred between Chinese people and Xiaotian. There is no point, only the bayonet is red. The two men looked at each other. Although they didn't understand Chinese, Gao Jin's slightly discriminatory action still made them a little angry. Go. Ling glanced at Gao Jin and said directly. He has great confidence in his two apprentices. They have been practicing the art of combined attack. In addition, since they are twins, they have already understood each other mentally, and their tacit understanding of cooperation is unparalleled. Only one person could escape from their hands. The two men bowed their heads slightly respectfully and walked side by side towards Gao Jin. When they were 3 meters away from Gao Jin, the two stood still and took a stance. Gao Jin narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the claw knives in the hands of the two men. This kind of weapon was considered unpopular. As the saying goes, an inch long means strong, and an inch short means dangerous. The claw knife can be said to be a sharp weapon in close combat. The sharp blade can instantly slit the enemy's throat. Snort. Gao Jin snorted softly and pulled out 2 swing sticks from his waist. Click, he flicked his hands and the stick suddenly popped out. The two men didn't communicate at all. They leaned forward at the same time, one stepped forward, and attacked Gao Jin from the left to the right. The claw knife glowed with cold white light, and in the blink of an eye it was in front of Gao Jin's face, slashing towards his eyes. If this blow works, Gao Jin's eyeballs will be instantly hooked by the claw knife. Upon seeing this, Gao Jin advanced instead of retreating, hitting the numb areas of their legs with 2 swinging sticks. The two of them felt their feet go numb, and their attacking movements began to deform. The blade of the claw directly grazed Gao Jin's cheek. Gao Jin even took advantage of someone's illness to kill him. He danced tightly with 2 sticks and hit the 2 people on the head continuously. At this time, the shortcomings of the 2 weapons became apparent. In addition, they were short and had short hands, so they could not reach Gao Jin. They could only try to defend themselves. Clang, clang, clang. The swing stick hit the claw knife repeatedly, and the huge force shocked the 2 people's fingers. There was no other way, the 2 of them took a step back at the same time, away from the attack range of the baton. At this time, the heads and faces of the 2 were already covered with scars, and blood flowed down their cheeks onto their clothes. Gao Jin smiled and looked at the miserable appearance of the 2. Through the previous fight, he roughly knew the strength of the opponent. They practiced the typical killer style, with the neck and head as the main attack positions, and the power mostly hit the arms, which means that their lower body is very unstable. Gao Jin threw down the 2 batons and waved at the 2 with contempt. Winston looked at Gao Jin curiously as he threw away his weapons. What is he doing? Crow glanced at Winston. Just watch, he's going to show off. Winston. Damn Chinese, the two roared. They valued honor more than their own lives, but they didn't expect that the Chinese in front of them would humiliate them so much. The two began to attack from two sides, one above and one below, which was their usual move. Haha, John, your companion is going to die. Others may not know, but Ling knows that this is a killing move he designed specifically for the two of them. One attacks from above, and the other attacks from below. No one can completely block it. As long as the opponent is injured, he can no longer resist the attack of the claw knife and eventually die under the claw knife. John continued to watch the duel between the two sides. He thought that since Gao Jin dared to fight with his bare hands, he must have a way to deal with them. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 384. Gao Jin's eyes were focused, his feet were dodging, and without stopping, he directly grabbed the wrist of one of the dwarfs, pulled it down, and then pushed it. There was a click sound, and the short man's arm was directly dislocated. The claw knife in the short man's hand flew out of his hand. Gao Jin ducked and grabbed it, and his index finger directly clasped the ring of the claw knife. Sliding across the other person's throat, the sharp claw knife directly opened the little devil's throat without any resistance. Although the little devil tried his best to cover his throat with his hands, blood still gushes out from between his fingers like a fountain. Seeing that the situation was not going well, the other dwarf was about to pull back with his dislocated arm, but it was too late. Gao Jin slammed into his arms with an iron mountain support. The claw knife in Gao Jin's hand penetrated, and with a pull, the dwarf's entire chest was opened. It takes a long time to talk, but these actions are only completed in a few breaths. Gao Jin looked at the two people lingering on the ground, smiled, and threw the claw knife directly on the ground. Turn around and head towards the crow's mouth. Winston looked at Gao Jin in shock. As the person in charge of the Continental Hotel, he still knew something about the killer. These two members of the Ping Zhang killer organization are also somewhat famous on the killer list. But it was still a bit unbelievable for him to be solved so easily. He was thinking silently in his heart, are all Li Qing's men such fierce men? But he looked at the crow not far away who wanted to default on the bill, and shook his head. He became more and more curious about the New World Organization. Zero was stunned when he saw this scene. He didn't expect that his two apprentices would be defeated so quickly. It was obvious that he had just acted hard, and was slapped in the face instantly. This feeling was really uncomfortable. All right, John Wick. It's our turn. Zero pulled out the tachi from his waist and slowly walked towards John. John frowned, picked up the swing stick that Gao Jin had thrown on the ground, and stepped closer to Ling. There is nothing to explain about the ensuing battle. Basically, the battle between the two is not interesting to watch. There is no comparison with Gao Jin's previous fight. On both sides, you punched, I slashed, I swung the stick, and you slashed again. Even the crow felt a bit boring. There was enough blood and gore, but it just made people feel sleepy after watching it. To be honest, although John is physically strong, he is not flexible enough. Gao Jin rubbed the several $1,000s in his hand and looked at the situation on the court happily. Crow rolled his eyes, just tell me when he can win. But John is very powerful. As long as he can hit the killer's vitals, he has the ability to end the battle instantly. Gao Jin held his chin and analyzed carefully, but I estimate that the fight between the two will last about 10 minutes. Winston watched it with great interest. He thought this was a duel between real men. How to say it? It's a bit like the old Western cowboys' duels with guns, turning around and shooting each other, one person dies, or both people die. When Wu Wu heard this, he wanted to pack up and leave. He had just lost some money to Gao Jin. If I lose again this time, I'm afraid I won't even have enough money to buy North Ultra Slim. Sure enough, as Gao Jin expected, John finally inserted Ling's sword deeply into Ling's own chest, which ended the battle. What is this? Rookies pecking each other? Are you playing me? The crow muttered dissatisfiedly. But Crow didn't have much to say about his gambling, so he borrowed some cash from Winston and settled the bet directly. Papa Crow clapped his hands to attract everyone's attention. Everyone, start moving. The younger brothers in the new world quickly began to gather, sorted out their equipment, and walked out of the door in twos and threes. Winston was stunned when he saw such a scene, and couldn't help but ask, is this? Oh, it's okay. It's a custom in the new world that if you get beaten, you must return it, and you won't take revenge overnight. Gao Jin took the suit from his younger brother and put it on casually, and said with a smile. Winston looked at the New World members who kept walking out of the hotel, feeling a little lucky that he didn't fight to the end. Otherwise, the current Continental Hotel might have become a ruin. There is a typical Japanese-style building behind a Japanese food store in Manhattan. This is the Gotham branch of the killer Hirajang. The Japanese food store in front is a tool for disguise. Pingjong Killer Organization, strictly speaking, should be called Pingjong Killer Academy. Its earliest founder was called Ichiro Numida, who was once a high-ranking official of the Kwantung Army in World War II. It was originally an institution dedicated to training killers during World War II. With the end of World War II, it began to gradually evolve into Pingjong Killer Academy, and now has become a loyal supporter of the High Table. The Pingjong Killer branch at this time is different from the bustle of the Japanese restaurant in front. The bandaged killers were lying on the bed recovering from their injuries. A few days ago, the raid on the Continental Hotel failed, resulting in the loss of nearly half of the entire Pingjong killers. Zero, haven't you come back yet? No. Damn it, we shouldn't have messed with the Continental Hotel. It's too late to say anything. Some of the killers lying on the bed looked at the ceiling and complained. The last battle in the hotel was still vivid in my mind, and the terrifying sound of heavy machine gun fire lingered in my ears like a nightmare. As soon as they closed their eyes, they thought of their colleagues who were torn apart by bullets, and the three words New World became their nightmare. Some killers were even scared and trembled all over when they heard the three words New World. Click. There was a slight movement outside the door. Who is outside? The killers became alert. Is it Master Zero? There was no reply outside the house, and the silence made people feel palpitations. A brave killer carefully pushed open the door and looked outside with a faint light. I saw a black muzzle of a gun, less than 3 centimeters away from his eyeballs. The instinctive fear made him open his mouth, and puff, the bullet went out of the gun through the silencer and shot directly into the killer's head. Enemy attack. The other killers also reacted and picked up the weapons around them. But the younger brothers of the New World did not give them any chance, and instantly threw 5 or 6 high-explosive grenades in. High-explosive grenades fully exerted their advantages in such an environment. The explosion sounded, and the single piece and steel ball directly took away the lives of almost all the killers. The Japanese restaurant in front was also slightly affected, and customers screamed and ran out of the Japanese restaurant. The killers in the Japanese restaurant hurriedly picked up their weapons and started running towards the backyard. As a result, they were blocked by the New World brothers. One side held a kitchen knife, and the other side was well equipped. The result is self-evident. The Pingjong killers were wiped out in their own branch. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 385. Crow and Gao Jin sat in an empty Japanese restaurant, with 1 or 2 gunshots coming from behind from time to time. Ah Jin, what do you think is so delicious about this thing? Crow picked up some tempura with chopsticks and put it in his mouth, chewing it with big mouthfuls. Gao Jing glanced at the golden tempura on the table and said disdainfully, "Brother Crow, this thing is called fried batter in our country. Some vegetables, seafood, meat, etc. are wrapped in batter and fried. What tempura, isn't it learned from the ancestors of China? Brother Crow, Brother Jin, everything is done." The subordinate walked slowly behind the two with a gun and whispered, "Okay, let's go, let's burn it here." Crow waved his hand, threw down the chopsticks in his hand, and rinsed his mouth with sake. Not long after, the Japanese restaurant fell into a sea of fire, and even affected the surrounding shops. Since then, the largest base of Ping-Jong Killer Academy in the United States has been destroyed by the New World. Originally, everyone thought that the New World was cruel enough, but what happened later was far beyond everyone's imagination. On the first day after the Gotham Ping-Jong Killer Academy was wiped out, the Chinese gang Aoki Group launched a surprise attack on the Ping-Jong Killer headquarters in Tokyo. In just one night, the entire Ping-Jong Killer headquarters was directly destroyed. As a result, the Ping-Jong Killers fled to the Tokyo Continental Hotel for shelter, but the Aoki Group did not indulge them and directly flattened the Tokyo Continental Hotel. However, this matter is not without consequences. Li Qing received a call from Kazuo Kusakari. After all, as one of the 12 members of the High Table, the Continental Hotel was bombed in his own territory, and it was obviously a bit unreasonable for him not to ask. "Mr. Li Qing, the sudden attack on the Continental Hotel by the Aoki Group embarrassed me." Kazuo Kusakari sighed and said on the other side of the microphone. "Haha, President Kusakari, our new world has already made enemies with the Ping-Jong Killers. If it were you, would you root them out?" Li Qing didn't care about the tone of Kusakari Kazuo's words, but asked back. Kusakari Kazuo was speechless for a moment. If it were him, he would probably do the same as Li Qing. The two chatted for a few more words and hung up the phone. Kusakari Kazuo couldn't do anything about the Aoki Group for the time being. After all, the headquarters of the New World is in Southeast Asia. If he took action, the industry in Southeast Asia might be uprooted. In fact, not only the Ping-Jong Killers who lived a simple life, but also the Ping-Jong Killers in Southeast Asia were wanted by the New World. This approach also had Li Qing's deep meaning. He just wanted to set a benchmark. No matter whether it was a killer organization or a gangster, as long as they had a grudge against the New World, he would not let them go. It was like showing his fist in front of the High Table. At the same time, he also wanted to test the bottom line of the mysterious elder through this incident. The judge received the news that the Ping-Jong assassin branch was attacked early in the morning. The death of the Ping-Jong assassin was no loss to her. What made her angry was Li Qing's behavior, which had obviously touched the bottom line of the High Table. She called Alex again, but this call became the last straw that broke the camel's back. "Alex, I ask you to launch an operation against the New World within 24 hours. Otherwise, I will be skeptical of your ability." The judge still had that cold and arrogant tone. Alex closed his eyes and kept thinking about the call from the judge just now, with murderous intent on his face. This time he didn't want to endure it anymore. He was not the leader yet, and the judge restricted him too much. If the judge questioned his ability, there would be voices within the mafia opposing him becoming the leader. Alas, it seems that I really have to board Li Qing's pirate ship this time. Alex sighed. Now he has no other choice. Jaina, Bowery, and Winston received Li Qing's invitation again. This time, the three of them did not hesitate and rushed to Li Qing's villa in the shortest time. What surprised them was that there was another person sitting opposite Li Qing, that is, Alex, the leader of the Gotham City Mafia. Jaina looked at Alex thoughtfully, and had some guesses in her heart. "Alex, I heard that you have encountered some problems recently. Is there a problem with the election for the party leader?" Jaina laughed and teased. "Hee, I think you should care about yourself, and be careful that your brother will pull you down." Alex said unwillingly. Li Qing watched the two people talking nonsense without stopping them, but watched the show happily. If there were melon seeds, he might even crack a few of them to show respect. Anyway, their discord is the most beneficial to themselves. Bowery and Winston were silent. Through the incident of the New World destroying the Ping John killer, they have fully realized the strength of the New World. Okay, now everyone is here. Then I will talk about the next plan. Li Qing didn't care about the two people staring at each other and said directly. In fact, the current situation is very delicate. It can be said that the New World has torn its face with the High Table. But now it seems that only the adjudicator has taken action, and the other High Table members are watching each other, and even two of them have been pulled to his side by Li Qing. The adjudicator has become a major concern for everyone. If she doesn't die, I believe that everyone present will not feel at ease. Everyone was thoughtful when they heard Li Qing's words. Bowery touched the bloody gauze on his face, not knowing what he was thinking. Jaina also touched the ring on her little finger and nodded. So? Alex couldn't help but ask. Kill her. Although everyone knew what Li Qing was going to say, they were still shocked by his words. You know, the person opposite is the adjudicator, one of the executors of the elders' rights. The whole study fell into a long silence. They knew that once this decision was made, they would most likely face the crazy revenge of the elders. I agree. Jaina said first. Now she has no way back. Once the adjudicator reveals her secret, she will not survive. I agree. Bowery also said in a deep voice. The revenge of disfigurement must be avenged. I agree. Alex nodded as well. Once the arrow is shot, there is no turning back. Besides, this adjudicator will definitely be a stumbling block to his becoming the party leader. Okay. This matter is settled. I will arrange the specific time. Li Qing clapped his hands and smiled. Winston glanced at Li Qing, feeling a little depressed, as if he hadn't spoken yet. The next time I call everyone together, it will be the date of the adjudicator's death. Li Qing looked around, looked at the four people, but muttered to himself, it's not easy, I finally got them on the bus. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 386. In the luxurious apartment, Santino watched the discs boredly, and there were takeout boxes everywhere on the table. The action movies played on TV did not interest him at all. Damn, it's been 3 days. When the hell am I going to get out? Santino scratched his messy hair manically and complained. He had not left the house since the last time Jaina left, and the Inquisitor ordered bodyguards to protect him. Mr. Santino, please be patient, it won't take too long. The bodyguard glanced at Santino and said casually. The Inquisitor only protects Santino because he can prove that John Wick killed the previous Inquisitor. Moreover, he also knew in detail the evidence that the Kimura family violated the High Table. He was a witness and an exhibit. Santino glanced at the bodyguard gloomily. He himself felt something was wrong. He was obviously under house arrest by the Inquisitor. There was a flash of regret in his heart, but it was too late to say anything now. He only hoped that the Inquisitor would pull Jaina down. That way, as the only son of the Antonio family, he has the right to inherit everything in the Kimura Mafia. Santino said nothing and turned his attention to the TV again. The famous movie The Godfather was playing on the TV. He also longs to be like a godfather. Time passed very slowly, the second hand of the watch on the wall was ticking, and everything fell into a strange calm. The bullet came from nowhere, instantly hitting the bodyguard's head and drilling directly into the wall without losing force. Because the TV was loud, The slight noise did not attract the attention of other bodyguards. PIU. The bullet came again, this time alerting the bodyguard. The bodyguard quickly pressed Santino under him, raised his gun and started to fight back. But looking at the direction in which the bullet came, it was obvious that it came from a sniper on the tall building opposite. The snipers from the New World on the tall building next to them were not polite and began to nod their heads one by one. Damn it! Santino fell to the ground in panic, not even having the courage to raise his head. He didn't expect Jaina to be so bold. Is she really not afraid of the High Table's revenge? There was an unspeakable fear in his heart. If Jaina was determined to kill him, the Inquisitor might not be able to protect him. When the gunfire stopped, Santino knew he would die if he continued like this, and he had to find a way to escape from the apartment. Looking up at the darkened apartment, he could only hear the heavy breathing of the bodyguard next to him. Mr. Santino, please remain calm. The bodyguard seemed to sense Santino's emotions and spoke. Bang! A sniper gun rang out, and another bodyguard was named and went to see God. Calm down you. Santino quickly picked up the pistol dropped by the bodyguard from the ground, jumped towards the door. The bodyguard originally wanted to catch him, but was still a step too late. Santino rushed out of the door, lying on the ground and carefully observing the situation outside. What surprised him was that there was no movement outside, as if there was no one on the other side. He quietly stood up and looked at the doorway of the stairs, which was like a giant mouth of an abyss. His throat couldn't help but beat up and down. Damn it! There were roars and gunshots in the room. It was obvious that the bodyguards in the room were targeted by snipers outside the window and could no longer leave the apartment. Santino was flustered for a while. He looked at the elevator and then at the stairs. He was caught in a dilemma. Baichi. Santino gritted his teeth and ran towards the elevator. In any case, the elevator was faster than the stairs, and it was possible to escape from the apartment. After pressing the elevator button, the crisp sound of ding bell sounded. The elevator was empty, which made Santino relax a little. He walked into the elevator and pressed the button for the first floor tremblingly, but after thinking about it, he pressed the button for the second floor. He was afraid that someone was watching over him on the first floor. The elevator stopped on the second floor without any accident. Santino raised the gun in his hand and slowly walked down the stairs. Pushing open the door to the first floor stairway, Santino carefully looked around. Apparently there were several people in suits squatting guard. I knew it. Santino was very happy with his decision. If he had gone directly to the first floor, he would have been blocked. Taking a deep breath, he quickly dodged towards the back door of the apartment. It wasn't until he stood on the bustling street that Santino felt relieved and secretly clenched his palms. This time he made the right bet, there was no one at the back door. Santino looked back at the apartment and smiled proudly. Baichi, you can't catch me. Suddenly a sack fell from the sky and was placed directly on his head, causing his vision to go dark. Then he was hit hard on the neck and passed out. Get him in the car. Crow wrapped his coat around him. It took me a long time to come out. I'm freezing to death. People from the New World have been waiting at the front and back doors of the apartment for a long time. Crow sniffed and got into the car, and the car started driving towards the New World apartment. Half an hour later, New World apartment. Santino felt a terrible pain in his neck. Now, I just said that young people fall asleep quickly and wake up quickly. They woke up in less than half an hour. Crow looked at Santino, who was slowly waking up, and said to John Wick next to him. When Santino heard the voices, he remembered that he seemed to have been kidnapped. He raised his head and squinted his eyes before seeing the person in front of him clearly. John Wick. John Wick fiddled with the gun in his hand and raised his eyelids. Santino Antonio. Seeing that Santino was almost awake, John drew out the dagger and walked over step by step. John, What do you want to do? Santino looked at the cold dagger with fear in his eyes. What? John's dog is gone, his car is broken, and even his mother's house was blown up by you. What do you think he wants to do? The crow looked at Santino, who was trembling like a quail, and said, No, no. I am a member of the Kimura family and a member of the High Table. You can't do this to me. Santino pushed his feet hard on the ground and kept backing away from John. High Table? Do you think we are afraid of the High Table? The crow's teasing voice reminded Santino of the mass annihilation of the Ping John killers under the High Table. Just when Santino was stunned, the dagger pierced Santino's thigh directly. A shrill scream sounded. Jaina, Jaina, save me. I know you are here. Santino begged for mercy loudly. Li Qing, who was watching the show next door, looked at Jaina strangely. As expected of a brother and sister, he could actually guess you are here. Jaina heard Santino's cry for help, and was not moved at all. It seems that my brother is also a little smart. Sir Li Qing, I have another favor to ask you. Help me ask who betrayed me. Jaina knew that her stupid brother could not know some very confidential things about the Kimura family. Someone must have betrayed her. Li Qing smiled and nodded, holding the walkie-talkie, and said a few words to John. 5 minutes later, Jaina took the note and looked at the names on the note with a shocked expression. Ace, Brum, Tucker. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 387. The notes contain the powerful people of the Kimura family, and Jaina did not expect that so many people would oppose her and support her younger brother. Jaina put away the note with a pale face, and finally looked at the tortured Santino, who was not human. Sure enough, some people are greedier than I thought. Please, Your Excellency Li Qing. Li Qing nodded appreciatively. This is what a female mafia boss should do. He waved his hand at his men, and not long after he heard a gunshot. Jaina heard the gunshot and closed her eyes, but she felt mixed emotions in her heart. After all, he was her younger brother, so she still felt a little uncomfortable. Then she said goodbye to Li Qing, and knew that from this moment on, Li Qing had caught her. Hey, Gianna, remember to be on time tonight. Li Qing smiled and said to Jaina's back. Now that the preparations are almost complete, Li Qing doesn't want to keep the Inquisitor for the new year, so he simply resolves it altogether to avoid any further troubles. The Inquisitor soon learned of the attack on the Santino apartment. The arranged bodyguards were all killed without exception. Santino is missing. This made the adjudicator, who had always been very calm, have some changes in his heart. The situation encountered this time was more complicated than before, especially when they encountered the opponent New World. In the past, she would use her position advantages to recruit killer organizations or gang members to solve situations like this. This time, the Gotham City Beautiful Country Mafia has not shown up, making her feel that things are not that simple. The Inquisitor walked out of the hotel with a calm expression and looked at the slightly falling snowflakes in the sky. She suddenly had the idea of escape from Gotham City. The adjudicator got into the car, her brows furrowed tightly, and the uneasy feeling became stronger and stronger in her heart. Go. Leave Gotham City. The driver was stunned for a moment when he heard the Inquisitor's words, Your Majesty Inquisitor, where are we going? The adjudicator thought for a moment and blurted out, Airport. The driver nodded, said nothing, and continued to drive quietly. Sitting in the car, the adjudicator made a direct call, book me a ticket to Chicago. Without waiting for a reply, the adjudicator hung up the phone. The driver glanced at the adjudicator with an inexplicable expression in the rearview mirror, caressed his chest unnaturally with his hand, and then quickly lowered his head and continued driving. The snow is getting heavier and heavier, the number of pedestrians and vehicles on the road has gradually become less and less, and the snow on the road is getting thicker and thicker. Who do you work for? A sudden sound sounded in the car, making the driver's heart skip a beat, and his hands began to reach into his arms quickly. Don't move. The driver only felt that Ziyuchen's pistol was pressed against the back of his head. Your Majesty Inquisitor, I will serve the high table until my death. The Inquisitor did not listen to the driver's nonsense and shot directly, hitting the driver in the head. Since you got in the car today, you have looked at me in the rear-view mirror 4 times and touched the gun in your arms 3 times. The Inquisitor said to the dead driver. It turned out that none of the driver's movements escaped her eyes. The adjudicator opened the door, pulled back the driver's clothes and found a gun and a wireless microphone. Then she pushed the driver's body down, sat in the driver's seat, and drove towards the suburbs. My news has been leaked, and I can no longer go to the airport. According to his estimation, there must be many people waiting for her at the airport, and her only way to survive now is to drive out of Gotham City. Tisk, the adjudicator's eyes narrowed and he stepped on the brakes quickly, leaving a long braking mark in the snow. Apparently the large truck crossing the road forced her to stop. The surroundings were dark, only the car lights were on, the snowflakes in the sky were getting bigger and bigger, and the only sound in the quiet surroundings was the sound of the wipers. Click. The adjudicator opened the car door and walked out with a gun in his hand. Come out, aren't you looking for me? The Inquisitor shouted into the darkness. At this time bursts of laughter burst out from the darkness, and Bowery's figure slowly walked out of the darkness. He, adjudicator, you didn't expect it, did you? I said that I am the king of Bali district, and your every move is under my sight. With his face wrapped in bandages, Bowery pointed to his eyes and walked forward with a grin. The dead driver had been bribed by him a long time ago, and he knew the whereabouts of the Inquisitor clearly. By the way, I also want to thank you for your gift, the 7 scars. Bowery slowly took off the bandage, revealing the hideous wounds on his face. The Inquisitor looked at him calmly and reiterated, it's a gift from the high table. The high table. Bowery yelled that he had had enough of the rule of the high table and that he had always abided by the rules of the high table over the years and had never once violated the will of the high table. He didn't expect that he would be punished by the Inquisitor just for saving John Wick. In this case, he didn't have to care about the high table. The Inquisitor's face showed no emotion at all, but he asked, is it just you? Bowery looked at the adjudicator seriously and chuckled, the adjudicator is the adjudicator, and he actually guessed that it wasn't just me. No, I simply think you don't have the guts yet. The adjudicator took out a lady's cigarette from his pocket and put it in his mouth. Bowery. At this time, Jaina, Alex, and Winston walked out of the darkness at the same time, smiling at the adjudicator. Sure enough, I should have thought of it earlier. The adjudicator took a deep puff of the cigarette, and the long column of smoke dissipated in the air. All the strange things these days should be explained now. After all, these 4 people standing together indirectly show that the Gotham City gang has expressed its attitude. Crackling. The sound of leather shoes stepping on the snow sounded, and several cars on the roadside in front suddenly lit up their lights. The adjudicator couldn't open his eyes under the high beam, and when his eyes adapted to the strong light, he found that there was another person in front of him. This person was the leader of the New World who humiliated him last time, Li Cheng. Are you really going to start a war between the High Table and the New World? You must know that the strength of the High Table is not comparable to that of the New World. The adjudicator's heart sank, and now she had to take out the High Table to threaten Li Cheng. Respected judge, it seems that the mysterious elder has not appeared for many years. Li Cheng's words made the judge stunned for a moment, and then the judge's face changed slightly. To be honest, I even doubt whether this elder still exists, Li Cheng said aggressively with a curled mouth. The judge pursed his lips tightly and squeezed out a few words from his teeth, you can try. Li Cheng looked at the judge with interest and clapped his hands, only to see Gao Jin holding a black briefcase in front of the car. When the other four saw the things in the briefcase, their faces twitched unnaturally. It turned out that there were 4 pistols in the black briefcase. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 388. Li Qing put his hands in his pockets, raised his eyebrows, and looked at the 4 people who were motionless. It's time to stop hesitating. Li Qing looked around at the 4 people and said meaningfully. Bowery took a deep breath, walked forward and picked up a pistol from the briefcase. Then it was Alex and Jaina. Until the last Winston, he picked up the pistol with a little trembling. The 4 pistols were pointed at the adjudicator at the same time, and the adjudicator looked at the sky in despair. The elders will avenge me, and Gotham City will be a river of blood. And you, Li Qing, I will wait for you in hell. The new world will be destroyed because of your decision. The adjudicator looked at Li Qing unwillingly and shouted bitterly. Bang! 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 The sound of 4 gunshots rang out almost at the same time, and the bullets took the adjudicator's life directly. Until the moment he closed his eyes, the adjudicator still looked at Li Qing with resentment, without blinking. Li Qing looked at the judge who fell to the ground with contempt. Thank you, if I die, only the king of hell can judge me. The western hell is my paradise. The other 4 people looked at the judge on the ground with complicated expressions. Although the judge was dead, they were not as relieved as they imagined. If the elders really want to investigate, no one present can escape. Okay, now everyone is really one of us. Li Qing looked at the 4 people and said happily. In fact, the 5 people were already on the same rope when they decided to kill the judge. Li, what should we do next? Alex threw the gun in his hand back into the suitcase and asked. Alex, your current goal is to become the leader of the American Mafia as soon as possible. Li Qing looked at Alex and said solemnly. The American Mafia is an important force and has a great role in promoting the development of the New World Hotel. If Alex is elected as the leader of the American Mafia, the New World Hotel can be quickly rolled out in major cities in the United States. Alex nodded seriously when he heard this. Without the adjudicator to mess with him, he was almost certain to take the position of party leader. What about me? Jaina raised her eyebrows. She wanted to know what Li Qing would ask her to do next. Jaina, you should first sort out the internal affairs of the Kimura family. Jaina. Next, Li Qing asked Winston to find someone to renovate the Continental Hotel and officially open it as the New World Hotel a week later. And the Beggars Gang of Bowery became a subordinate organization of the New World Hotel to collect and sell information. Winston and Bowery had no objection to this. Now that everyone was tied together, the only way out was to build the New World Hotel. Recently, the temperature in Gotham City has warmed up, and people have taken off their heavy winter clothes. Even Meng Suan, the president of the Hungmen General Association, who was over 60 years old, changed into light spring and autumn clothes. Is there still no news about the disappearance of the adjudicator? Meng Suan sat on the armchair and asked his subordinates with a frown. Since the adjudicator disappeared in Gotham City a few days ago, the members of the High Table have searched Gotham for the adjudicator, but there is still no news. The subordinate shook his head, not yet, and there is no news from the Mafia. Meng Suan touched his slightly smooth forehead. He saw something unusual in this incident, but he couldn't see it clearly. What has the New World done recently? Meng Suan continued to ask. The last time the New World went out, it directly flattened the Ping John Killer branch. Everyone was waiting for the High Table to move. What surprised them was that the High Table did not take any action, which made people feel confused. By the way, President, I haven't reported to you yet. The people from the New World just sent an invitation. The subordinate took out an invitation with a gilded cover from his arms. Invitation? Is there any happy event for Li Qing? Meng Sun took the invitation curiously and asked in astonishment. Without waiting for his subordinates to reply, Meng Sun opened the invitation and read it himself. Hotel? New World Hotel. Meng Sun frowned. He didn't expect Li Qing to open a hotel in Gotham City and invite him to attend the opening ceremony. In his opinion, Li Qing was more or less not doing his job properly. Not to mention the territory he had conquered, he also opened a hotel. How much money can he make from opening a hotel? Tisk tisk, Li Qing wants to develop in the real industry. Meng Sun patted the invitation in his hand and muttered softly. Well, 2 monks carry water to eat, 3 monks have no water to eat. In fact, the pressure on the Hungmen General Association during this period was not small, and most of it came from the New World. Due to the new fee payment policy of the New World, many merchants originally in Chinatown have moved to marginal areas. Invisibly, the Hungmen lost a large amount of cash. The most important thing is that the New World has a good reputation. After collecting protection fees, it will definitely ensure the safety of the shops. Apart from other things, more than a dozen black men have died at the hands of the New World because of robbing shops. Now even the black men who are drunk know that they cannot go to the New World to rob. It is no exaggeration to say that if they meet the dogs of the New World, they will take a detour. The subordinates also curled their lips and said, "That's right, Muta, what happened in the New World has rolled up directly. We have to go on patrol at night." In his mind, these people in the New World are all humming students, and you are gangsters, just like the police in the dark. The Buddha in this beautiful country is not as lenient as you. Meng Sun looked at his subordinates speechlessly. The protection fee for this month is less? You make up for the less. The subordinate looked at Meng Sun without tears. Forget it, come with me to the New World Hotel this weekend. I want to see what Li Qing is up to this time. He didn't believe that a gangster would change to fasting and chanting Buddha's name. The New World Hotel was renovated in less than a week. This is also thanks to the good foundation of the original Continental Hotel, otherwise there would be no difference between renovation and reconstruction. In the neat hotel lobby, there were no traces of any battle. Winston is taking Li Qing to visit the internal facilities of the New World Hotel. Mr. Li Qing, this is David. Winston pointed at the short middle-aged man in front of Li Qing and said. David took off his everlasting hat and greeted Li Qing respectfully. David is specifically responsible for scavenger work. Li Qing greeted David and asked about the specific work of the scavenger. It turns out that the job of a scavenger is much more complicated than he imagined. In addition to disposing of corpses, he also has to clean up all evidence. It can be said that after the cleaning by the scavengers, no one can find any trace of the existence of those people. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 389. This is William, who is responsible for the arms business. Winston introduced, pointing at the young blonde boy. Arms. Li Qing glanced at William with interest. As one of the few major arms dealers in Southeast Asia, he was very interested in William's arms sources. Yes, Mr. Li Qing, I can get all the arms in the world, as long as you want them. Of course, they are only in small batches. William explained with a smile. After hearing his words, Li Qing lost interest. In fact, he was an intern middleman. This is Ham, the tailor. In the past, all the bulletproof equipment of the Continental Hotel came from his team. Winston introduced with a smile, this time he also came up with a new product that he wanted to introduce to you. Li Qing raised his eyebrows and looked at the suit next to Ham with interest. Mr. Li, let me introduce it to you. This is the latest bulletproof suit developed by our team. It has multiple functions such as waterproof, bulletproof, and dustproof. It can block 9mm caliber bullets and hollow point bullets. At the same time, it can prevent knife puncture, is thin and elastic. After hearing Ham's introduction, Li Qing stepped forward and touched the fabric of the bulletproof suit. The material was very silky and felt no different from an ordinary suit. Crow, give it a try. After hearing this, Crow, who was playing with his body armor behind him, stepped forward, took out his gun from his gun bag, and fired 3 shots at the suit. Li Qing stepped forward again and touched the area hit by the bullet. There was no damage except that it was a little hot. At this time, he finally knew why the bullet that hit John Wick in the previous movie was several kilograms, but he still didn't die. This thing really works. Then Li Qing asked Crow to try the bulletproof suit with other firearms, and found that it was extremely effective against commonly used 9mm bullets. But for large caliber mag bullets, the bulletproof effect is not very ideal, let alone larger caliber armor-piercing bullets. How much does a set cost? $3.20 million. Li Qing glanced at the bulletproof suit with a dark look, guessing that only the rich and top killers could wear it. For $1 million, make me a few sets. Li Qing blurted out that he was not preparing it for himself, but for Wu Wu, Gao Jin, Zhang Dongxiu, and others. Bullets don't have long eyes, so mistakes are inevitable, so it's good to have an extra layer of insurance. No problem, Mr. Li Qing. Harm said directly with a smile, without hesitation at all. Li Qing walked out with a speechless expression. It seemed that the cost was much lower than $1 million. Then I followed Winston to visit other subordinate organizations, such as the Information Department, the Reward Department, the Finance Department. It can be said that it is no different from the previous Continental Hotel. From this, Li Qing can also see Winston's personality charm. Just relying on previous connections, you can build a team of professional people again. I have another question, Your Excellency Li Qing. Winston followed Li Qing and asked softly. Huh? What's the problem? Li Qing turned to look at Winston. Winston touched his chin and organized his words, currency. In the past, the Continental Hotel used special gold coins. Now that the New World Hotel has been established, the previous gold coins must not be used. Do you think we should make new gold coins? After hearing this, Li Qing frowned slightly. He had not thought about this issue carefully. After thinking for a moment, he still felt that there was something wrong with the special gold coins. First, the New World Hotel has just been established, and it is not easy to attract customers with a specific currency. Second, the New World Hotel is only in trial operation in Gotham City, and other places are not ready yet, so the conditions for using gold coins are not mature. No, settle directly in US dollars. Li Qing instantly figured out the pros and cons in the current situation. It is best to settle in US dollars. After all, the entire world is now in a pan-US dollar circle. The US dollar is linked to gold and is an absolute hard currency. Moreover, using US dollars for settlement will also be an advantage for New World Hotel. At least more people will choose New World Hotel. After all, compared with special gold coins, US dollars are easier to obtain and have wider circulation. Winston, our newly established New World Hotel must achieve one thing, that is, we have what others don't have, and we have the best when others have. I hope you will continue to optimize the hotel industry and remember that we are a service industry. And Gotham City is just the beginning. Hotels in other cities will open one after another, and we will slowly encroach on mainland hotels. Li Qing patted Winston on the shoulder and painted a pie for him. Of course, this is only if New World Hotel develops smoothly. If High Table is unwilling to be cannibalized, the struggle will be complicated. In general, the future is bright but the road is tortuous. When building a hotel, the first thing is safety and the second thing is entertainment. Don't worry about safety, New World will guarantee it. As for entertainment, you still need to figure it out yourself. Winston's expression moved slightly, and he looked at Li Qing's retreating back with interest. Carefully think about the sentence, I have what others don't have, and I have advantages when others have it. Old Wen, I think so. You can refer to some of our New World entertainment businesses, such as a one-stop service for bathing and sauna. What is a one-stop service for eating and singing karaoke? What is Desert Storm powder jelly? Crow looked at Winston in a daze, and he also expressed his thoughts. Old Wen. Winston looked at the confused Crow with a black line on his face. When did he become Old Wen? Well, you should figure it out slowly, you are so stupid. You can't touch flour, what can't you do? Crow shook his head. He felt that if his elder brother gave him the hotel to manage, he would definitely be better than Old Wen, at least he wouldn't have to worry about the lack of customers. In a blink of an eye, it was the opening day of the New World Hotel. On this day, all the gang leaders of Gotham City, big and small, gathered here. Of course, this was not entirely for the sake of the New World. The mafia of the beautiful country and the Kimura family in Gotham City invited gangs with good relations. The big and small gangs in Gotham City were intertwined and were very curious about the upcoming opening of the New World Hotel. They had only heard of the original Continental Hotel, but most of them had never been in it. After all, it was a safe house opened by the High Table specifically for killers, and gangsters were not qualified to enter. Hey, what do you think this hotel is for? A black leader with dreadlocks staggered into the hotel and couldn't help asking when he saw the luxurious decoration. How do I know? But I guess it's related to the gangs. These people you see are the leaders of various blocks. The big black man next to him looked around and said, "Hello, please put your weapons in the check-in area." The two were chatting when the waiter's reminder sounded next to them. The two frowned and looked at the waiter, who was obviously Asian. "Get out of here, yellow pig." The voice was so loud that the whole hall could hear the black man's roar. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 390. No one can take my gun away. The black man with dreadlocks pushed the waiter away. The obviously racist language silenced the entire hotel lobby, and everyone watched the scene with their arms folded. They want to see how the New World is going to work. A sturdy man walked out from the hotel bar. His intimidating muscles almost burst his suit. "Haha, sir, everyone must hand in their weapons when entering the hotel. This is to ensure your safety. This is also the rule of New World Hotel." Zhang Dongzia walked forward with a smile and said politely. The black man with dreadlocks looked Zhang Dongzia up and down and said rudely, "I don't care about the rules of the New World Hotel. Only my gun can guarantee my safety. Get out of here." The black man with dreadlocks took out his pistol and placed it on the table. The barrel of the gun was pointed in the direction of Zhang Dongzia. Everyone looked at Zhang Dongzia in amusement. Obviously the New World Hotel's rules on confiscating weapons made them feel uncomfortable. Especially the black people in the beautiful neighborhood who are used to being arrogant. In their eyes, not having a gun in their hands is like not wearing underwear, which makes them feel insecure. Zhang Dongzia glared at the black man with dreadlocks and said, "Axie." If he had known earlier, he would not have made a bet with the crow, and would have been the receptionist if he lost. "Do you want to hand it over or not?" Zhang Dongzia asked seriously again. "If you have the ability, come and get it." The black man with dreadlocks looked at Zhang Dongzia arrogantly. Zhang Dongzia shook his head helplessly. "There is really no way." The palm-like slap struck from top to bottom towards the face of the black man with dreadlocks. A huge sound of physical contact rang out, and a group of people behind him couldn't help but cover their faces and startled. Looking at the black man with dreadlocks again, he saw that he had fallen asleep peacefully. When other black people saw this situation, they couldn't help but take out the pistols in their waistbands. When had they ever suffered such a disadvantage? Shua. But the waiters who were one step ahead of them had already put guns to their foreheads to prevent them from making any rash move. Dongziu, check which neighborhood he is from. I don't want to see them still standing tomorrow. Li Qing's faint voice came from the second floor. It was obvious that he had been paying attention to all this. Okay, big brother. Li Qing's words upstairs made the gang leaders downstairs tremble in their hearts. They immediately became quiet and did not dare to raise their heads at all. Li, why ruin your mood for this kind of person? Don't worry, there won't be anyone standing on his block tomorrow. Alex said with red wine in hand, leaning against the stone pillar. Cashin, you also go down and keep an eye on it. Jaina, who was standing next to Li Qing, ordered. Their voices were loud, obviously meant to be heard by the restless group of people downstairs. Now everyone understands who is behind the New World Hotel, and they are secretly stunned. The mafia of the beautiful country, the Kimura family, and the New World have actually united together. They all also gave up their thoughts of causing trouble. You must know that this is a combination of 3 companies, not just one. What's more, they are just one family, and they don't have the strength to compete with them. It's okay, there are always people with ulterior motives who come to test us. Li Qing knew without thinking that these little black men were sent by other forces to test them, so he didn't tolerate them directly. In fact, when the issue of banning guns in the New World was first brought up, Alex and Jaina both disagreed. After all, the beautiful country is different from other countries. Banning guns in hotels means completely entrusting your life to the protection of the hotel. Now that New World Hotel has just been established, others still don't quite believe in the strength of New World Hotel. But after Li Qing's detailed explanation, they fully agreed to ban guns in the hotel. Banning guns in hotels will improve customers' sense of security. Most people come to the New World Hotel to take refuge, and a gun-free environment will make them feel more at ease. Of course, the gun ban here is for customers, and the hotel's security personnel still need to be fully armed. A few people were chatting, and the invited leaders of various gangs arrived. Even Meng Sun came to support him in person, which Li Qing did not expect. He thought that Hungmen would send a random hall master here. President Meng, thank you for your personal visit and guidance. Li Qing stepped forward and shook Meng Sun's hand. Haha, Li Xiao, this time you open up a new industry, I will always come to support you. In fact, he came this time to apologize. After all, we are all compatriots. Several times when things happened in the New World, he chose to protect himself wisely. Thank you. Li Qing also said polite words, but he was really slandering the old fox in his heart. It seems that this person smells fishy again. Li Qing was right. Meng Sun came here in person just to see what new tricks Li Qing was up to. If there was a chance, he wouldn't mind stepping in. Okay, it's almost time. Let's move to the conference room. Li Qing looked down at his watch and signaled. The group of people stood up and started walking towards the conference room. The conference room is not big. Unlike the conference rooms in China, Li Qing just followed the locals and did not need to be so bureaucratic. It is a round table, and everyone discusses together around the round table. When Li Qing and the other big guys walked in, all the gang leaders in the conference room became quiet and greeted the familiar big guys one after another. The situation in Gotham City is very complicated. There are basically all black, white, Latino, and Asian gangs. After the others sat down, only Li Qing was left standing in the middle C position, with Alex, Jaina, Bowery, and Winston next to him. Li Qing stood without speaking. As time went by, the conference room gradually became quiet. Everyone's eyes were focused on Li Qing. Good evening, everyone. The purpose of inviting you here is not only the opening of the New World Hotel. but I solemnly introduce the New World Hotel to everyone. Li Qing spoke, and then said with a little emotion. Everyone here is a gang member. I believe you must have been hunted or assassinated. Think about it, in a bleak night, you are alone being hunted by other gangs or other killers, with nowhere to go, you can only hide in an unknown alley like a lone wolf to lick your wounds. Some gang leaders' eyes moved slightly when they heard this. They have encountered the situations that Li Qing said, and even more serious ones. Think about it, if you had been attacked by other gangs earlier, your wives and children would have been abused and killed. No matter how much money you make in the future, you can't make up for this regret. Think about it, your enemies are spending your money. Li Qing said a lot of words that aroused the empathy of the gang members, and he didn't get to the point until the emotions were almost brewing. The New World Hotel is a safe house built specifically for you. It has complete facilities and perfect services. The most important thing is that it is safe here, and guns are prohibited here. No one can bring a gun into the New World Hotel, which can maximize the safety of customers. No matter it is a killer or other hostile gang members, it is impossible to kill people in the New World Hotel. This is our promise to you. As soon as Li Qing said this, the whole audience began to talk. Meng Sun sighed, he finally knew what Li Qing was going to do. He wants to set up a beautiful country version of the Peace Hotel.